Welcome to the regular city council meeting. It is July 15th, 2024. This meeting is called to order. And for our invocation, we have a moment of silence tonight. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could we have a roll call, please? Megan?
Of course. Jeff Arnold.
Here.
Mary Hosley. Here. Wendy Onuki.
Here.
Joe Reeser. George Sleeper.
Here.
Letitia Wilkins. Annie Brown.
Here.
I move to excuse Joe Reeser and Letitia Wilkins.
Second.
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? They are excused. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move
A
to
motion
approve.
to,
Go ahead,
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Wendy.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? No. I mean,
No. None.
the agenda is approved. It's now time for community updates. Kate?
Thank you, Mayor. Today, as part of our community update, we have a proclamation for Sergeant Kyle Griffith. And Kyle is here tonight, and we wanted to honor him with this proclamation that you've signed. And I think you guys typically read them out.
Yep.
We want to have him come forward while we get this proclamation.
Good evening. Whereas Sergeant Kyle Griffith comes to the end of nearly 30 years of meritorious service as an employee of the City of South Haven, and
Whereas Sergeant Kyle Griffin began his career with the South Haven Police Department on January 1st of 1995 as a police officer and was promoted to the rank of sergeant on February 2nd, 2003, and
whereas during the course of his employment, Sergeant Kyle Griffith also served as a field training officer and a member of the Southwest Michigan Enforcement Team as an undercover narcotics officer, and
whereas Sergeant Kyle Griffin was a firearms and driving instructor for the South Haven Police Department, and
whereas Sergeant Kyle Griffith has been honored with multiple awards, including life-saving awards, unit citations, good work notices, and
whereas Sergeant Kyle Griffin completed the School of Police Staff and Command at the Center for Public Safety in Northwestern University on November 12th of 2024, and
whereas Sergeant Kyle Griffith has completed extensive training throughout his career, including, but not limited to, courses such as narcotics investigator training, emergency vehicle operations, first responder, CPR, AED, bloodborne pathogens, hate crime instructor training, firearms and patrol rifle instructor, diversity training, hazmat first responder, defensive tactics instructor training, and de-escalation, intervention, and force mitigation, and
now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of South Haven wishes to recognize Sergeant Kyle Griffin for his dedication and efforts to provide accurate professional service to the City of South Haven. Signed, Mayor Annie Brown, City of South Haven, on this date, 2024.
I just want to say that I'm wearing my new uniform tonight. It's a lot cooler than my friends back here have to wear.
Yeah.
I want to say special thank you to City Manager Kate Hosier. I don't know if you know her history. She was a dispatcher, so I was her boss, indirectly. And then she went to law school, finally came back here, and she became my boss. And I couldn't be more proud to have this night under her guidance and her lead. So, thank you.
thank you.
Come over here.
Jeff, could you take one step to your left? Thank you, perfect.
Nope, wrong way.
That was perfect, actually, so. My left, your left.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you.
Next, we have an update from the Van Buren County Conservation District.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Hickmott with the Van Buren Conservation District, just coming by to give some updates and see if you had any questions that you hadn't reached out to us about yet. To start on the calendar, we do have our annual meeting and director election coming up on Wednesday, July 31st, so hopefully you've received invitations. But just want to note especially that is coming up. We'll be at Brookside Farms in Paw Paw. And additionally, the entire city is invited. It's open to the public. We invite any and everyone who lives, works, plays in Van Buren County to come celebrate conservation with us. We try to keep our programming short and just talk a little bit about some fun things. This is the Conservation District's 80th anniversary this year, so we've got some extra elements to look back on 80 years of conservation work in Van Buren County. All of our great partners and everyone in the community who cares so much about our land, our soil, our water, and our air here in Van Buren. Additionally, we do have the South Haven Recycle Roundup coming up that same week. So Saturday, August 3rd, we will be over at the Department of Public Works from 9 to 2. Those events are all cost covered through the Conservation District Operations Millage, county funding, various municipal funding from the cities, villages, townships, and some grants that we have. So we invite everyone to gather up their stuff, get everything sorted into their boxes, load up their trunks, and make their way on over to responsibly dispose of a litany of items. So if folks have questions about that, please go ahead and direct them to us. We are still accepting passenger tire reservations, so folks can call over to our office or visit our website to reserve those, just because we run out of space, so we want to make sure to not overpromise. If you do have tires left over after that, hopefully you've heard, but if not, we're spreading the word that we do have a few year-round tire collection sites that have opened up. So at the Columbia Transfer Station, Covert, and Village of Decatur, those 3 transfer stations do hold regular hours now, and folks from all throughout Van Buren County can go drop tires off. Again, that's cost covered through grants that we have, and to be able to clean those up year-round instead of just waiting for those collections. So hopefully that's helping. Finally, we continue to have recycling for electronics year-round at Senior Services, along with the Community Thrift Shop in Paw Paw, for folks are over that way. And battery recycling continues at various locations, throughout the county. The closest here being the Senior Services in South Haven again, but they're also at a lot of the libraries as well. So a final update then is kudzu. If you've heard of kudzu, it's an invasive plant, the plant that ate the South, the vine that ate the South. There was a small bit of it in South Haven. We've been treating it the last few years, and just as an update, this year we have observed no growth, which is excellent, so we have not had to treat that. There seems to not be a presence, but we continue to check the site to make sure that it's not growing back, and we'll continue to do that and resume treatment if we need to. But success there. There were only 4 sites in our 3-county area, and 2 of them, including the one here in South Haven, have not shown any growth this year. So we're feeling good about that, maintaining surveys and keeping treatment going. So that's all I have for you. Do you have any questions for me?
Emily, for the roundup here at DPW or the tire locations, you just show your driver's license, and as long as it shows you're a county resident, then it's all free.
Yes, yep, driver's license, or we'll even take like a piece of mail if it's not your primary residence.
A bill, yeah,
So,
okay.
yeah, yep, that'll work.
And the roundup is always really well run. You always have plenty of volunteers. You hardly have to get out of your car. They'll get everything out of the trunk for you. So
Absolutely, yes.
great event.
Please stay in your car and we'll get it all handled. It's probably going to be hot, so take it easy and we'll get it all taken care of.
great.
Does the August 3rd event include a paper shredder?
We will have paper shredding at this one, yes.
Okay,
Yep,
great.
confidential paper shredding, along with the household hazardous waste, which is things like batteries, light bulbs, chemicals, the oil-based paints or aerosol, so all latex can just be dried out at home.
Propane tanks.
We'll take propane tanks.
Oh.
Yes, yep. All sorts of stuff. We'll take medications, sharps if they're in a container, either a sharps container or a laundry detergent that's taped up. That works too. Reduce, reuse, and it's a little bit cheaper too than buying a sharps container. So, and I did want to note special shout out to Aaron Preeb. I believe that's how. It's been really helpful with the kudzu treatment. Really easy to work with, so we really appreciate that.
He's the king of kudzu.
Yeah, I would say so.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do. We
Thank
appreciate you.
Thank you for your support and for having us.
Thank you. Now it's time for public comment for items on the agenda, excluding items scheduled for public hearing. You have up to 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Bob Lindstrom. I live at 823 Superior Street here in South Haven. I come before you this evening representing Dog Park Dreamers. And as you consider Resolution 2024-35, I would encourage the City Council to unanimously declare your support for the August 6th recreation millage. Over the last 6 months, I've had the privilege to meet with and consult with city and township officials, with Shara and South Haven Convention and Visitors Bureau leaders, and with members of the South Haven Parks Commission. Others will speak tonight on behalf of the many significant recreational programs that are under development and or under consideration. It's an exciting time for our community as we seek to sustain and grow recreational opportunities through this new millage. My focus in these conversations and consultations has been advocacy for the development of an excellent community dog park in South Haven, a destination for off-leash exercise and socialization and play for dogs and their people. The Riverwoods redevelopment has the potential to house this vital resource for our community, and that's a breakthrough. Creating an excellent dog park has been a priority for South Haven residents for years, and an objective that was formalized in the 2023 to 2027 South Haven Parks and Recreation Master Plan. The new city recreation millage will provide some of the resources needed to bring this aspiration to actuality. Again, it's an exciting time. So on behalf of this community's canine citizenry and their people, I urge your unanimous support this evening for Resolution 2024-35. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Jan Haglund, 811 Congress Street. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for giving me the opportunity to speak on the expansion of the social district. I stand before you tonight as a surviving victim of a head-on car crash on M59, west of Howell, Michigan in 1983. It was caused by a drunk driver. He and his ex-wife had been drinking in town. They got on the highway. As they approached our small car from the east, their Suburban crossed the center line and directly in front of us. There was no time for my husband to react. The Suburban crashed into the front, and that moment changed our lives forever. I was thrown into the windshield, breaking it into splinters. He was pinned in his seat by twisted metal. I watched him struggle to breathe, and I heard the blood gurgling in his throat. My husband received massive injuries to his head and body. He spent several months in U of M hospital in Mary Free Bed. When he was finally able to come home, he barely knew me, and he did not know his children, and he did not know where he was. We were the fortunate ones. By God's grace, we survived. but our lives were forever changed by one drunk driver. So-called social districts, which allow and encourage the consumption of alcoholic beverages throughout the downtown, are not only a public safety concern for our roads, but also to residents and visitors of South Haven. The proposed expansion of the open area to include Dykeman Park, particularly in the winter, presents a danger to children at the skating rink, who are often left unattended by parents. A blood alcohol, according to the Cleveland Clinic, of 0.02, which can slightly impair judgment. 2 alcohol drinks have a blood alcohol level of 0.05. At this percentage, a person may feel uninhibited and have lowered alertness and impaired judgment. What message is being the social district creates an opportunity for underage drinking. It's there. And who's to say somebody who has some liquor in their glass doesn't pass it on to a younger person? And what message is being sent by leaders of this community to our children and young people? Many of them who already have heartbreaking problems with alcohol and drug abuse in their homes. We all know often the root of families breaking up is due to drinking. Let's work together as a community to promote a safe, family-friendly downtown, one that preserves lives and promotes families. Is it easier for a recovering alcoholic to walk our town streets with people drinking alcoholic beverages around him? We already have problems with alcohol in our community. How will increasing the opportunity to drink more make things better? What are your hearts telling you tonight? Are you for death or are you for life? Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more comments?
Again, this is the appropriate time to talk about recreation also. Jack Fitzer, 24 and a half Grand Boulevard. You've heard me speak in the past. My concern is just this. We do have a great opportunity with this land, and it's a wonderful chance to develop something that will separate us from a lot of communities. It is the 1/3 of that, of the millage, that I'm most concerned with, and that's the third that's directed towards providing a recreation department rather than a piece of land. In our little brochure here, 4 young people who don't know the town, really don't have a lot of experience, certainly not even in the recreation, parks and recreation field. But somehow they came, talked to many people in the community, visited other towns in the area, and realized, in fact, what this place misses is an opportunity for recreation for people of all ages. So what I'm asking you is, when I'm looking at this, the verbiage, the words that are written here, it's very vague. The money could be used for anything at any time. But each of us, as you're looking at me and I'm talking, I'm asking you that, because you're going to make the initial decision, and that initial decision is going to play a huge role in what follows over the years to come. What we need is a professional in this business, the professional in the parks and recreation business, someone who may not even report to Kate. She's got enough on her plate. Could report directly to this board if that's possible. And her job would be to establish, his or her job would be to establish a program of recreation for everyone in the town. Where I came from as a young man, and where my avocation was participate in this kind of government, was it allowed for things like the 4th of July weekend, had kids going, my grandkids are going through photo albums because the water was too cold on the lake. And so they were going through these photo albums, and they came up to daddy-daughter date night of me and my daughter. She's 56 now, so that was 47 years ago probably. This daddy-daughter date night picture, they all giggled about it, and the 15-year-old said, that looks like the same suit my dad wore to the daddy-daughter date night. It wasn't, but the idea that that existed and the continuation of it over the years made an impact on those girls, that they had a special night with their dad. And it's a simple thing. It's all it takes is an organization by someone who knows what they're doing in that business. We don't need someone's cousin, you know, we need a professional. And in your job, I'm asking you, if you commit to do that, to bring that person on board to do it, and when they do it, with the idea of building a recreation department that won't just be for ASO and Little League. We had all that stuff, but they performed on their own with the assistance of the professionals in the recreation department. There's always going to be issues that require a cooperation from the schools, from the city government, from the maintenance department, and that person's job is to make sure all that happens while still providing daddy-daughter date night and 100 other kinds of opportunities like it for kids. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jack.
Good evening. Mike Sawyer, 711 Indiana Avenue. I'm currently the president of the South Haven Pickleball Club, and I'm not here to specifically talk on behalf of the Pickleball Club, but as a resident here in the city of South Haven. I think it's important that we approve this resolution for the recreational millage, because I think it's important for all ages to be supported and nurtured in recreation in this town. Again, I'm not trying to specifically look at this as pickleball, but as all ages. As a youth growing up, it was important to me to be part of different recreation opportunities that I had as a youth. And unfortunately, I feel that that's sorely lacking here in the city of South Haven. So I strongly urge the council and the community who could support this millage proposal. That's my point.
Thank you, Mike. Are there any other comments? If not, we'll move on. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through I?
I move to approve consent agenda items A through I.
Second?
Can we have a roll call, please?
Arnold,
Yes.
Hasley,
Yes.
Onuki,
Yes.
Sleeper,
Yes.
and Brown.
Yes. Thank you. Old business, number 9, the city council will be asked to consider the following actions to amend sections in the South Haven Code of Ordinances pertaining to the South Haven Social District. And A, hold a public hearing. B, consider a motion to adopt an ordinance to amend section 52-105 and section 58-83 of the South Haven Code of Ordinances with regard to the South Haven Social District. First, we will open a public hearing. Is there a motion?
I move to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, no. The public hearing is now open regarding the South Haven Social District. If you have comments or questions, you may approach the podium and microphone.
Pat Gaston, 97 Superior Street. I guess I just have a comment. I'm not keen on the social district, but I'm not saying no or yes or anything. My comment is about how the city spends so much time getting our zoning right, working on a master plan, not just time and hours, money spent with a person putting it together, and citizens participating and all that. And it's been part of our community for as long as I can remember that there's no alcohol in the parks. And it disturbs me that we're throwing all that out the window and opening up Dyckman Park to alcohol. I mean, to be honest with you, every time they go through this master plan thing, I think it's just worthless, because every time somebody comes up with some money in their hand, we change it for whatever they want anyway. So I'm disturbed that a long-standing ideal of our community of not having alcohol in the parks is just thrown out the window here. And I'm sure people would like to drink on the beach. People would like to drink in Stanley Johnson Park. People would like to drink everywhere. But I thought we held that kind of special, that we don't drink in the parks. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
I just want to second what she says. The whole idea of recreation, parks throughout the country, alcohol is not allowed. I mean, in the great majority of places, I don't see the need for it in this park. It just doesn't make any sense to me to open that door for any reason. I've seen too many problems on the beach, you know, any other place that where it's allowed. You're just asking for trouble. The skating rink's too close, too many kids. Just no reason to allow for that to be part of the social district, I don't believe. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Tom Feeney, 516 Phoenix Street, owner of Harbor Library. I wish to acknowledge those that have spoke in favor or in disregard for alcohol in the public parks, and I do support what they say 100%. In this particular case, Dyckman Park was included because the public restroom, the newly renovated public restroom, is opposite Dyckman Park, and there was no way to get or have access to a public restroom without the inclusion of Dyckman Park. Of all of the parks in South Haven and the beaches and so forth, there is no drinking, of which I do support and wish to continue to support. But in this particular case, both Dyckman Park and the public restrooms on Huron Street in Kalamazoo are now included in the social district, and it's much more simple and clear for us to be able to educate those that come and visit our establishments and let them know that they can also access public restrooms. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Lisa Croupiers, 561 Indiana. This is getting me all worked up from when we discussed this before to include a restroom for the convenience of the social district drinkers. That is, the restrooms are there. Just don't take your drinks if you have to go to the bathroom, you've got to figure out what to do with your drink. We are accommodating. There's been so much resistance to this, to the social district, and we keep having to revisit this. I agree with Pat Gaston. Some things are so hard to get what the residents want, but this, they just keep bringing it back, trying to get what they want. The restrooms are for people that need to use the restrooms, And we're manipulating this social district so drinkers can get to a bathroom. And I just think that's ridiculous. Let's stick with the park thing, that we do not have alcohol in parks. Even though we do have alcohol in parks, we do have alcohol on the beach, and it's not allowed. And for those of us that have to deal with that or see it and live with it day after day, we just have to zip it up, or we're going to get called Karens or nosy, whatever. And, you know, we are just doing these, if we say anything, it's so people know how things are done here. And people are still going to bend this rule and go to the bathroom if they need to, whether or not the social district allows them to do that or not. So I think this is just, I can't believe we're doing this again. Let's resolve this and get it done and stick with the guidelines we already have in place.
Hi, I'm Elaine Herbert, 404 North Shore Drive. I know this is already a done deal, and the council has already voted to expand the social district to Dykeman Park and the pavilion where the skating rink already is. And this is just putting it in the code of ordinance to finalize it. I agree with everyone who has spoken. If drinkers who bought their drink at a bar need to go to the bathroom, why can't they go to the bathroom where they bought their drink? We have families in the park, at the skating rink, and there just needs to be a place where families who feel like they don't want to be around groups of people carrying drinks can be. As it is, I look out my window every day on my street walking to Oak Street Beach, where people are happily carrying their red cups down to the sunset every day of the week, freely going to the beach, drinking. This is just the way South Haven's attitude has become. It's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope. Yeah, we protect ourselves on the 4th of July and the 3rd of July with massive police coverage that we're also paying for. But now the fireplace and the skating rink where our children go, unprotected because we send them down there to have their own fun, can be around a bunch of drinkers. I'm not opposed to alcohol, but why can't they just stay down in a section where they're not necessarily, well, it's a done deal. I get it. And thank you, Councilwoman Hosley. Thank you, Councilwoman Anuki. And thank you, Councilwoman Wilkins, who was in here. And no thank you to Councilman Reeser and Arnold, who voted against it, and Sleeper and Mayor Brown. What in the world are you thinking? Letting drinking expand into the park and the pavilion. Why can't it just stay downtown and there be one little place where families can be without public drinking from the bars where they can go pee, where they bought their drink? Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Next, we consider a motion to adopt the ordinance to amend the sections of the South Haven Code of Ordinances with regard to the South Haven Social District. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the ordinance to amend Section 52-105, Section 58-83 of the South Haven Code of Ordinances with regard to the South Haven Social District.
Second.
Any discussion? Mary?
Yes, I do want to just reiterate that I did not support this extending into Dykeman Park. I thought that Dykeman Park should have remained alcohol-free, as all our parks are, that if they needed to use the restroom, they could find someone to hang on to the drink. I also do not appreciate the drinking occurring in the parking lot. I think that is a pendulum swinging too far to the wrong side. But I was in the minority, and because it did pass, I do believe that our ordinance should be updated. And therefore, I would support the updating of the ordinance, but I had submitted amendments, and I would like to move to amend Section 58(3) sub 5 as provided in writing, such that the newly added material would be stricken after apply. So during the city's established social district operation dates, if public park in the public park that is expressly included within the boundaries of South Haven Social District is stricken, and immediately thereafter would insert when service and consumption occurs in compliance with the City of South Haven's Social District Management and Maintenance Plan as amended from time to time, comma, including when consumption occurs in a public park expressly included within said plan. And I would additionally amend Section 54-105 C and replace the A, B, and C with 1, 2, and 3.
And we already have a motion, so we're discussing.
This is a motion to amend that motion.
Okay.
Okay. Wendy, do you have any more comments?
Is there a
Oh,
second?
is there a
to
second?
Amend that was a that actually the legal counsel had commented that the revision articulates better that both the service and consumption must comply.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Megan, can you read the motion again?
Yes. So it is a motion to amend the original motion to amend the amendment, to amend the amendment, to strike after the word apply, so to strike during the city's established social district operational dates in a public park that is expressly included within the boundaries of the South Haven Social District, to then be replaced with when service and consumption occurs in compliance with the City of South Haven's Social District Management and Maintenance Plan as amended from time to time, comma, including when consumption occurs in a public park expressly included within said plan.
Thank you.
And then also to amend Section 54-105C to replace A, B, and C with 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Yeah. I would have a question for Mary.
Okay.
Is that- Mary, the goal in your language change is to make it clear to the public that you can't bring coolers of your own beer in there, that it's supposed to be in compliance with social district. Is that correct? Is my understanding correct?
Correct. And I believe that's what the attorney said, that language did make it more clear.
I think that's what I saw too. Okay. And then the second part was just clerical correction. 1, 2, 3.
To avoid potential typographical errors, yep.
Okay.
My questions.
Any other discussion? Okay. Oh, Wendy.
Sorry. I am still of my original thought as well that I would have preferred for us to move a little more slowly and make sure that going to a year-round social district could be enforced. Any problems that came up could be handled, and that it wasn't creating more, trouble and creating an unfamily-friendly environment downtown. So that's also why I wasn't in favor of including the parks and public bathrooms at the time. So I know this is a housekeeping item to amend our ordinance to allow it. I still, hearing the comments today, I feel like I do understand where people are coming from, that this might not be the best step forward at this time. So I will not be voting in favor of it.
Thank you. Could we have a roll call, please?
We have to first vote on,
The amendment.
first voting on Mary's amendment.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, ready? Arnold,
Yes.
Hasley,
Yes.
Onuki,
No.
Sleeper,
Yes.
and Brown.
Yes.
Motion carries. So then a vote on the amended
Now we
motion.
have to vote on the original motion. Yeah.
Okay, so for the amended motion, Arnold,
Yes.
Hasley,
Yes.
Onuki,
No.
Sleeper,
Yes.
and Brown.
Yes.
Motion carries as well.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. The city council will be asked to consider approval of the following special event applications. A, special event application 2024-33, Saturday in the Park, to be held on Saturday, July 27th, 2024, from 4 to 6 p.m. in Dyckman Park. And B, special event application 2024-34, National Night Out, to be held on Tuesday, August 6th, 2024, from 5 to 7 p.m. in the Huron Street Pavilion. Kate, do you have any comments?
No, Mayor, well, yes, I do have a couple of comments. The first event, the special event for Saturday in the Park, that's a new one for us. Foundry Hall would like to host that free Saturday concert in the park. It'll be from 4 to 6, and they'll be playing Chicago-style music. This is not intended to interfere with the farmers market. They are encouraging people to bring their own chairs. As for National Night Out, this would be our second year doing this with Safe Kids Greater South Haven. Again, this will be in the Tuesday night National Night Out campaign. We'll be at the Huron Street Pavilion from 5 to 7 p.m.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve both of the special events? A and B.
I move to approve special event application 2024-33, Saturday in the Park, as read by Mayor Brown, and special event application 2024-34, National Night Out, as read by Mayor Brown.
Second?
Any more questions or discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The motion passes. Number 11, the City Council will be asked to consider approval of Resolution 2024-35, a resolution declaring support by the City Council for the recreation millage on the August 6, 2024 ballot. Kate.
Thank you, Mayor. Scott Reinert and a number of community supporters have been very vocal in their support of the recreation millage that will be going onto the ballot for the August 6th election. And he has drafted this this resolution of support in kind of explaining the vision for the rec millage. And I know Scott's got some materials he'd like to share with you. So here he is.
Okay, thank you all. Again, Scott Reinert, 543 Quaker Street in South Haven. I was before you all May 7th and several times before that talking about the proposed recreational millage. The council did approve it at that time. There were concerns raised or questions raised by several council members as well as community members, specifically around two things. One is identifying how much money was going to be raised through this millage and how much money was going to be allocated specifically towards recreation. And then the second thing was what it's going to be spent on, the money. So I've spent, along with several other folks, have spent the last couple of months, dozen plus meetings with different people, community groups, Shara, the city staff, all the youth leaders, the public school system, and we tried to hash out what made sense for that. So the outcome of those conversations are kind of outlined in the resolution that we're asking for support for. And it really outlines two things. And I've asked, we put together kind of a outline of all of the information I was sharing. Brian, if you could hand out to the residents and community members as well. So this kind of summarizes where things stand. Little two-pager for the community members to review. So basically, the purpose of the millage, we've talked about this before, so I won't go into that right now. I will share more details in just a sec. So the millage rate we're proposing is a half a mil, or 50 cents per thousand of taxable value for a property for a period of 5 years. The total funds that will be raised specifically dedicated to recreation is over $282,000. The total estimated collection of the revenues is about $294,000. You'll recall that we approached the DDA as well as the LDFA, asked them to opt out of their collection of those portions and to reallocate them to the city for the purposes of recreation. So they both did that. The one remaining organization that is not required, not allowed by law to opt out is the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. The city staff estimates that that is a little over $12,000 a year is what that portion is. So of the $294,000 collected, $282 will go directly to recreation, which is about 96%. So I can answer to the community, 96% of the funds collected will in fact go directly to recreation. In the three categories that you see on the bottom of the front page, we've talked about this for some time, this has not changed. We are recommending, and this is what you see in your resolution, that the funds be split equally 1/3 between these three areas. Number one, city parks. Number two, recreational programming. And number three, we're calling collaborations, but those are really South Haven Area Recreation Authority properties. So if I could ask you to turn to the back of that page, the three areas that we're suggesting, number one, a third of the funds would go to the Parks Department. We've got a number of the great city staff in the back here that do an amazing job with our parks. They will tell you, as I can, as we've added new parks through Shara, the maintenance needs have just increased over time. So managing the number of parks that we have between the city as well as Shara will be important to be able to have the staffing to maintain those long terms. As well as a number of priorities have been developed by the city. I just laid out some of those. In the next 3 years, about $700,000 worth of projects just for restroom upgrades alone at some of the key parks. And then there's an additional $10 million of unfunded projects in the future. So $90-some thousand a year is not going to solve all these problems, but we think we can do some nice restroom upgrades to some of the parks, accessibility, fixtures, painting, those kinds of things. So the plan for this would be city staff, specifically the Parks Department and Parks and Recs, and the Parks Commission would approach or make recommendations to City Council annually on how they would propose these millage funds to be invested for the coming year. So we would ask city staff, and there will be a process for that organization to come back and ask you all for support for how those monies would be allocated each year. The second thing that we've done, and I think we clearly addressed Mr. Fitzger's need, is that the Community Recreation Director is a key part of this as well. Couldn't believe more strongly in his comments, and it's clear that this is an expressed need of the community, and we feel vital for the future. So I've laid out some of the responsibilities here that we think, and this is just an initial pass. What I would recommend as far as the process is that if voters approve this millage on August 6th, that we would convene a committee of kind of a cross-functional committee, if you will, that would include representation from City Council, from city staff, from the public school system, from Shara, from the youth leader programs, and from community members at large that could help establish the role and responsibilities of this position, what the reporting relationships are, compensation package, all those kinds of things, and then ultimately to help lead the interview process and selection of a candidate for this position. So that would be the process. If all goes well, I would hope that at the start of the new year, January, February, we'd have somebody in place that could lead this effort for us. And then finally, a third would go to to Shara, the Recreational Authority. Really, I've laid out the parks there. Shara has, with really no taxpayer money to speak of, has right now we have $5.3 million of assets on the books. Public parks that have been developed with grants and private donations. We have 3 that are very active right now. We just opened the kayak launch, as you know, on Phoenix Street. The Porter Legacy Dunes is an amazing asset, 48 acres right on Lake Michigan. We kicked off that project about 2 weeks ago, and Phase 1, if all goes according to plan, will be opened in the summer of 2025. That will include land-based trails as well as a unbelievable, fully accessible ramp deck that will go to the top of the dunes and overlook Lake Michigan. So we have $700,000 between grants and private donations that have been collected for that. So that will proceed. The 14th Avenue Sharp Park, the soccer fields will open next year. The disc golf park is open, has been open for 3 years now. There's a high level of interest for baseball, soccer fields there, or baseball and softball fields there. So potentially some of the funds could be used for that. And then finally, we talked about the Riverwoods property and the acquisition of that. And there's a lot of things that have been identified there. So the SHARA allocation would be controlled by a SHARA board. They would determine the priorities, but it would be those 3 parks basically that would be invested in over the next 5 years. And a little bit of late-breaking news that I can share with the group tonight. There will be a press release coming out in the next day or two, but the DNR has officially approved the sale of the Riverwoods property to SHARA. So we are working through the details of that now. It will either be something that we purchase directly or that we do a lease or a lease purchase option, depending upon the cost and so forth. But our commitment basically to the DNR is that it will be available for public use, it will be properly maintained, and that it will be used for public outdoor recreation in perpetuity. And so that's the commitment that we are making to the DNR. The DNR is going to be actively involved with our effort to develop it. It's our intent. We've gotten a proposal. We're going to be engaging Edgewater Resources, who have a long history with the city of South Haven of doing master planning for Kids Corner Park and the harbor and so forth. So we'll be engaging them to do a site master plan for us, a long-term master plan, and then cost estimates and so forth. And then we anticipate, which will include many of the features that have been discussed today, the pickleball, dog park, mountain biking, pavilion. We also intend to reinstall a portion of the Nichols Bridge on a land-based trail in the park. We've had a lot of discussions out there with a lot of folks that are in the audience as well, touring the property and so forth. So, but we're going to have it professionally done, a professional land plan put in place that the community can all get behind. And then we would start the fundraising grant writing process end of this year into next year. So that's exciting news for that. So we're thrilled that that's going to happen. And so basically, as I said, the resolution that you see in front of you was really just an intent to try to codify, again, how much money we're going to collect, the fact that the DDA and LDFA have opted out, how much money is left, and then also that the allocation for the recreational purposes for the rec millage would be 1/3 to city parks, 1/3 for the recreational programming, and then 1/3 for SHARA. So be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? Mary?
So with the Riverwoods property, it appears that the millage is not required for the purchase.
That's correct, yeah. Yeah, Riverwoods, the intent, if the millage goes through, then obviously that would provide SHARA with flexibility in terms of potential funding sources and so forth. But the Riverwoods acquisition is going forward, yes, regardless.
And so millage money would or would not be used for
It could be. It could be. But if the millage doesn't pass, obviously we won't have that opportunity, but we'll still buy it. And the DNR basically said from day one, back in December when we first started having these conversations, they said that they would work with us however it made sense. They said if we don't have the money to pay for it up front, they'll lease it to us. They'll do a lease purchase for 5 years. They said, whatever works for you guys, we'll make it happen. They have experience doing this with other communities. They brought up, I can't remember, in northern Michigan, they did the exact same thing, and the community just bought it after 3 years, basically. So it just gives SHARA more flexibility in terms of potentially acquiring it. In a perfect world, if we had the funds and we could acquire it up front, that'd be great. But if it takes us longer, then that's it's not going to affect the Riverwoods project in terms of making it happen. Yeah.
And so you've been talking with the DNR on this since December?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. No, the first proposal that I made to the DNR was December 6th. I looked at it today. And so that's when I first reached out and made the request. And we just got, it's a long, drawn-out process. We had to make the applications and so forth. And, and to be quite selfish, I asked them last week, I said, could I announce this? And can we do a press release? And they said yes. And so that press release will come out this week. But again, so we created the press release. The DNR is just reviewing it right now and stuff. But like I say, the terms, we got to figure out, so, and the amount of money. They do a real estate appraisal for it, and not to get, your time's valuable and stuff, but basically what they told us up front was that because it says that the land will be used for public recreational use in perpetuity, that diminishes the value of the land in terms of the public, if you will. So they basically said to us, you'll probably get a pretty good deal. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Wendy?
I don't know if I have a question more than a comment,
Sure.
but we'll see how it goes. I appreciate all this information and detail and thought that you put in. I feel like it gives a bit more clarity to the proposed millage. And I like the idea of having a director kind of and head of the programming. And I still feel like there's a really big opportunity to have something like a recreation center for all ages here in our community, and that would be such an asset. And I also would just like to see this group, if this moves forward, make sure they're reaching out to a diverse range of stakeholders.
Yeah,
I know
that's
there are a lot of families and others who might not be super vocal in their needs, and I would really appreciate them being considered when you're coming up with
No, that's a
where
great,
the funds
great
would be
point.
spent.
No, that's a great point. It's interesting, the study that Jack mentioned, or the research, if you will, from the students, one of the key things that they came away with, but beyond the recreational director position, was an indoor recreation facility. So exactly what you're referring to. So separately, without going into detail, the Visitors Bureau, we engaged probably 4 or 5 months ago a consultant called Convention Sports and Leisure to evaluate a number of big ideas for the community, potentially, one of them being an indoor recreation center. And so they are in the process of developing. They do very, very thorough work. They interview, they obviously assess what's out there in the world of indoor recreation, who we'd be competing with, but they also interview sports planners and stuff, and said, if we had something in South Haven, would you use it? How much would you use it? How much would you pay? That kind of stuff. And so ultimately, they're going to come back to us with a P&L, if you will, that will say, for this kind of investment, here's your return on investment that you can get. So as a community, we'll have access to that information. We'll be able to decide, is it something that we move forward with? How do we move forward with it, and so forth? But I think that is a potentially huge idea for the community. A year-round recreation center, not just the summertime.
Yeah,
So,
that would be great. Thank you.
Could you talk briefly about how recreation could impact our economy?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of studies that are out there if you research between trails and recreation and so forth. I mean, it has an economic benefit. There's no question. I mean, I think we saw it with the pandemic. The amount of people that were using our parks and using our trails and so forth was incredible. And I think this is one of those things in my mind that why I believe so passionately about it is it's something that the residents. It's great for residents. And it's great for the economy, but it's also great for visitors as well. And Bob Lindstrom, has said time after time when he travels with his dog, they have places to take their dog when they visit other places. They come to South Haven, there's no place to take your dog without getting a $30 membership or whatever it is. So I think everybody benefits by recreation. It just gives us so many different options for people long term. And again, if we can crack the code long term on some kind of indoor recreation year round, I mean, I really think we'd just be just a great destination. And ultimately, beyond that, it's about attracting and retaining young families, right? I mean, Mr. Doucette, who's there, will tell us a lot of stories about taking his kids other places because that's the only place he can go. They go to practice baseball or practice soccer or whatever, So being able to have those assets to be able to attract and retain young families, I think, is critical as well. So.
Good point. Mary?
Just thought of a couple other that would best be asked to you. So for the 1/3 for the recreational director, would that be the salary and programs or just the salary?
Well, it would be a combination of those. So we would have to, again, what I would say, the committee, who's involved with putting that together, we'll have to figure that out. I don't know, obviously, if it's a city employee, it would be, salary plus benefits, plus we're hoping there'll be some money in there that person would have a budget to do programming or to buy equipment or whatever. I heard when I was talking to all these youth directors and stuff, there's so many of them that pay for equipment out of their own pockets because there's no other source of funding for it. And so that kind of stuff, I would hope we'd, be able to. So I think for, $90-some thousand that there would be some money hopefully available to be able to pay for some of those kind of things and programming things as well, so.
And then for the Shara budget, so Shara has, 2 township elected officials, no city elected officials, Jen from the Visitors Bureau. And so really the city, you're asking us to give our tax dollars to Shara,
Right.
doesn't really have much say in it because there's not any elected official. What about, and that's where I have the most concern is that you're asking this money just to be given over without any oversight by the city whose residents are paying for it. Would it be possible, just like with the director and with the parks, they would come to city council with a laid out plan and a budget of how they would foresee the money being spent, as opposed to just handing it out?
Yeah, I think that could be discussed. I think, we discussed it with Chairman Stein, maybe the charter is changed to include a city council member on the Shara board, something like that. But I guess the thing I'd say, Mary, is that Shara has a track record, right? What they do is they collect $4 per person from the township and the city and $10,000 a year from the Visitors Bureau, $40,000 a year. That pays for basically maintenance of the parks and utilities and those kinds of things. Outside of that, we've generated $5.3 million worth of assets without a single taxpayer dollar. So I think I understand what you're saying, and I am fully supportive if there's a different structure or whatever. I think Shara was set up independent of the city, so I don't think I don't think Shara shouldn't be reporting to city council, I don't believe. That's not the way it was set up. But if there's a way to relook at the formation of the board of Shara, to me, that makes sense. But all I'm saying is that I think Shara has proven itself, more than proven itself.
But my concern is you are asking the citizens to give Shara
Right.
approximately $90,000 a year.
Yeah, and
the citizens would not have a say really because we are accountable to the citizens.
Right.
Shara is not accountable to the citizens.
Oh,
And
yeah.
also, at the time this was presented to us, Ross Stein indicated that he would consider increasing the rec millage for the township to a $0.5 mil. And that did not happen. So
Well, the South Haven Township has been collecting a recreational millage for
Right,
8 years now.
And I know.
In addition to the, the tax base in South Haven Township is nowhere near what the tax base in the city of
Correct.
South Haven is, so.
But what I was,
Watch your interrupting, please.
but
And
I was
what I would say is that
interrupted first, ma'am.
I fundamentally disagree with your comment that Shara is not accountable to the citizens of South Haven. I couldn't disagree with that more. Absolutely not. They may not be, they are funding it because they're paying $4 per person right now. But Shara, if you don't believe that Shara feels an intimate responsibility to the citizens of South Haven, I think you're sorely mistaken.
Well, what I was going to say is the township budget is significantly less, and we will pay that in just 1 year. What I'm just saying is, for transparency and for accountability, our city council meetings are open. And I think it would go very far for city members' engagements, because I think Shara meets in the morning when our residents would be working, and they're not televised, to have proposals come to the city council to be incorporated into our budget, so that we ensure that it is being, that the programs that our residents really want, and maybe we need to give more to the program director for the programs for our families, as opposed to parks,
Right.
which are accessed by a lot of visitors. So I just,
Well, the
and
one-
that's the concern that I have, is that the one-third doesn't give potentially enough to the programs that the residents who are being asked to shoulder it would really want.
Yeah.
Like
We-
the rec center.
And I recognize your point, and I respect it, very much. I think we tried to address that. If you look at the second page of the resolution, the first paragraph, what it says is that the last sentence, it is intended that these funds will be equally distributed for these three areas, but could be adjusted each year based upon overall community recreational needs and priorities. So that was the intent, to get at your point. If on a year-to-year basis, if the community feels like we need to adjust, and I think that would be in cooperation, between the city of South Haven, obviously, and Shara, So then I think having Shara present to city council in terms of how they're going to allocate their funds, I think that's perfectly acceptable. Like you say, the meetings are open for Shara right now, but they are 8 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes people can't make it. So I think asking Shara to come back and say, over the next year, that $90,000 for Shara, here's how we intend to allocate that, I think that's perfectly reasonable. And if there's any discussion or concerns, then we can, we can do it. But as a former Shara board member, and all the projects that we've accomplished for this community, I think are amazing, and I'm very proud of that. And I think that we've been an unbelievable steward of the assets that we've got. So.
And I'm not saying you aren't. I am just saying my residents are going to hold me accountable for how the money is spent. And the only way
Right.
I can control how the money is spent is if the projects are presented to me for me to vote on.
Okay, well, I think that's a discussion item we can have in the future, or again, so typically, city staff, either Kate for years, Brian for years, and then Kate for years, and then Griffin for the last year or so, have been part of the Shara meetings. Like you say, they're not a voting board member, but perhaps we should look at that. And, there's a Shara meeting in August, so maybe we could talk about that, if it makes sense to change the board composition so that, the city council could be represented. That's fine too, so.
I'm firmly convinced that I think the budget needs to come to the city council as a whole to vote on the projects to ensure that they are proceeding the way that we envision them to proceed from the language provided.
I just want to make a point that there are city residents on the Shara board.
Yes, there are.
Yep, thank
Yeah,
you.
community members at large, absolutely.
Yes.
So Mark McClendon,
Adam
Maureen
Versipet.
Lewandowski, Adam from the school system, and so forth. So that charter was made up to do exactly what it did. I mean, it was made up to create some great recreational assets, which is done, so.
And that's acknowledged, but
Right.
what I'm saying is you are asking the citizens of South Haven, the resident property owners of South Haven, to pay almost $300,000, with some of it going to BRA, and to ensure that the residents are getting, the property owners are getting what they expected out of this millage. The program should come back to city council for approval to ensure that we are doing what our constituents and stakeholders desire.
Mayor, if I may.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Scott, kind of dovetailing on what Mary's saying, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I heard you saying was Shara would be open to putting a city council member on the board. You just have to go back and talk about it.
Yeah,
You'd
we
be
just have to
open to
revise
bringing the
the-
budget to us.
Right.
You might even consider moving your meetings till in the evening so that more people could attend. You're open to all those kind of ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if we come back and say, and if we find that, to Mary's point, we're short on the funding side for programming for whatever reason, then we say, let's talk about it as a group and figure out how we reallocate and so forth. So
Sounds
I guess it's just the terminology we're using. I think it's, we all want the best thing, right? And so, and we all want accountability. Obviously, that's why the citizen from day one said, I want to make sure this is going to recreation and so forth. So, so I promise you, we'll make it work. I mean, we're excited about the program or the projects that Shar has on the books. But if we've got to reallocate some money to some other things as well, then that makes sense. Whatever's best for the community, right?
And if I may jump in here, SHAR is its own authority. It operates completely outside of the city and then the township. What I would say is that if there is any kind of motion or movement to change that, it has to be approved by all of the member organizations as part of that. So that's a pretty big process. The second thing I would say is that because these are millage dollars, if approved, this would be gathered by the city, and the city council would have to allocate those dollars. Sorry, so there is oversight there, and if we're looking to find out what projects SHAR is looking to do, we can definitely have those conversations. I do want to just let the city council know that because this would be a gathered millage, the city council would ultimately be the ones explaining or approving how the millage dollars would be used.
Understood, and thank you. It's just the language in the resolution we are being asked to approve. It does not
It's a
have
resolution
that
of support.
clarification.
It's not I hear what you're saying, but it's a resolution of support. The millage the ballot proposal millage verbiage is what would tell us how it would have to be operated, right?
And I'm just trying to manage expectations that I would want programs coming back to city council for approval and not just money diverted to the different entities to dispense.
Okay.
I would move to approve Resolution 2024-35, a resolution declaring support by the City Council for the recreational millage on August 6, 2024 ballot.
Second.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Thank you. Arnold?
Yes.
Hasley?
Can I come back?
Okay. Onuki?
Yes.
And Sleeper?
Yes.
Hasley?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next, the city council will be asked to receive an update regarding ongoing economic development projects. Kate.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have in your packet an update from Griffin Graham, former Assistant City Manager, on the economic development projects that have been going on here at the city. I can go through this in quite a bit of detail, or we can kind of, I can take any questions. I do know there's a fair number of items in here that we have been advancing slowly over the past year. The Marine Technical Training Program, the Young Professionals, our business retention business visits, my gosh. And then, of course, housing development and Center Street Hale Block redevelopment. I know that we've talked a little bit about redevelopment ready community certification that we've had since December of 2020. I can tell you that it's been an enormously helpful program that we've utilized and taken advantage of $30,000 of technical assistance. We also have that, I think we're doing that one more time with the comprehensive zoning ordinance update. So there's quite a bit that has been going on, and of course, these are programs that we'd like to continue, even though Assistant City Manager Graham is not here. There's been a lot of really good work here, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions?
I would be interested hearing more about item number 11 under the other projects and working on the purchase agreement to sell part of the Lake Michigan College.
Yep. As you know, we've received some acreage out there by the school, and we have had that actively marketed for, I think, almost a year and a half at this point. We think we have a buyer that is open to purchasing half of that property, so we're working on a purchase agreement with the city attorney.
And does that come back to us then? For the vote?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. Next, the City Council will be asked to consider approval of a one-year agreement with Market One, formerly Market Van Buren, for supplementary economic development services in the amount of $12,831.45 for fiscal year 2024 to 2025. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Well, good evening. Just want to say thank you to the mayor for having me at least, here to talk about economic development and at Market One. Appreciate working with Kate and Griffin over the years here. Sad to see Griffin go, but, you know, absolutely happy that his career is progressing. Glad to have Kate here, Kate's been a good asset also, so I just want to say I appreciate working with Kate also in role as economic development leader here. We have a slideshow here for you if it pulls up.
We do, and the projector's been on, but I think it just turned itself off.
That's why I think he came out.
Yeah. If not, we cover a few things. Oh, there we go. Just in your packet, while it's getting pulled up in your packet, you'll see there's some letters of support from Nick Culp at Holtec, Carrie Troyer, Blonde number 2 at Three Blondes Brewing Company. She's also a board member of Market One. And then we have a stakeholders update that we published. We're actually going to be doing, for this last quarter, we'll be doing our annual update, annual review, our fiscal years July through June, so I'll also have that. But give that for you so you can get a flavor of what we've been working on. We also have our grant services document here for our investors, which the city is one of them. And then we have our investors offering documents. So we have a few things for you to thumb through there. All right, so first thing I always like to do when I'm talking with the audience, because I know tonight you've covered a lot of topics. So if I come here and say, okay, let's talk about economic development, then you got to take your hat off, move to the next topic. And I've been an elected official before and served on a school board, and I remember what it was like to get one presentation after another in an evening. So I'll try to zero in a little bit more on what economic development is. It's 3 things. So it's business, talent, and community. And when I talk about the business side of it, we'll first talk about primary employers. These are the businesses that you have out in like your business park, like Revere or Spencer's, System Components, those kind of places like that. They produce a product, sell it outside the area, bring the capital back, and then distribute it in wages, taxes, and services locally. And those services are generally with what we'd call secondary employers. Not secondary in importance, but secondary in how capital flows. So you take a look at like Phoenix Street Cafe or Cafe Julius, places like that. They take the existing capital here and kind of turn it over. Now, they're not necessarily producing new capital and bringing it back to the community, expanding it. So that's a little bit the difference between primary and secondary employers. As economic developers, we mostly work with primary employers. We have our partners from the Chamber who does a lot of work with our secondary companies. They're a very important part of how we work together in making sure we have an ecosystem. So we have talent also. We know that talent wants to live in nice places. The recreational millage, I think, is a very smart thing. I think having a place that people want to come to. Young people across the country doing, mountain biking trails, and you see there's some really cool places out there. That's attracting people, and that's an important part of what you're doing here is creating place, because that's how you attract talent who then works in your primary company. So that's kind of at a high level what economic development is. When we get started. Now, how do we do this? So we have 52 units of government between Cass and Van Buren. 52 units of government. That's townships, cities, villages, and the counties. Quite a bit. We also have, I would say we're right around 300 target primary employers that we have, and then there's several thousand, if you add up the secondary, several thousand companies. Our job as economic developers is to be the folks that are in the middle. We're that middle cog, which is why when we rebranded, we used the cog, the gears, as part of this, is getting those resources on the left, the alphabet soup, in other words, the EDA, the MEDC, the counties, the USDA, SBDC, all these different organizations that we could sit down, I'd give you all of them. But all those resources there go to the right if there's someone connecting up the folks on the right. A lot of times these resources get distributed in the bigger cities, the bigger communities who are better organized, and just because they have huge budgets. Look at Oakland County, the budgets they have out there, and parts of Lansing and Grand Rapids are monster budgets. They have a much more organized lobbying force than we have in rural America. And they're going to grab a lot more of those resources if we're not better organized. So when we formed Market One over close to 6 years ago, and I started in this role 8 years ago, it was because we wanted to start putting our name on the map as Van Buren County and then eventually Cass, so that we're not getting beat out by the big cities in the east side out of the state. And I'll show you some stats later that shows it's working. How does this work? You make an investment, so it's a public-private partnership. We're a nonprofit organization. It's a public-private partnership. Investment comes into us, and then we work with employers to connect them to resources. Again, going back to the gear slide. We address those challenges businesses have, and quite often it could be a DOL issue. It could be an issue with their water permit if they need wastewater in some places. I can give you a whole host of issues I've worked on. I've helped negotiate leases between municipalities and businesses before. Didn't see that one coming that day, but they had an impasse between what the rates were going to be. I stepped in, helped negotiate it, and worked out. That's the life of economic developer, is addressing these challenges. We also set strategic goals, and we've set some of them with our board of directors. And if business is successful, they also make an investment in, and it goes on and on and on. And that's the way we operate as a public-private partnership that works with our partners. So years ago, we set a 7-point plan. That way, we kind of know on a day-to-day basis what we're going to be doing. I'll kind of go through it quick, just to let you know, because we did this with our board of directors and our investors. We're going to form an economic development organization. We did that. We formed Market One. Create a countywide economic development plan. We've done it. We develop our county industrial sites. And why is it important? Well, the reason we want to develop our county industrial sites is that when opportunities come our way in Cass and Van Buren, we don't want them to go to Indiana. Right now, Indiana's got about $15 billion in data centers on the books right now. $15 billion. You want to balance your budget? Land one of those data centers, because those are over $1 billion projects. Now, the key is if you have the electric, that's the biggest issue. If you know electric, 150 megawatts just to get started. Do you have any excess of that, Kate? Most people don't. So that's the biggest challenge we got right now, is we need to develop our county industrial sites. Right now we have an SSRP grant, Strategic Site Readiness Program grant from the MEDC, to develop about 800 acres around the Hartford Township area off 94. That's not far from here. It's about 10, 15 minutes, somewhere in there, depending on how you drive, I guess. But it's somewhere in that area. We wanted to augment also our revolving loan fund. And what we wanted to do with that particular piece of it was we had a CDBG, Community Development Block Grant Funded loan at the county level. And it has a lot of red tape with it. So we actually are working with the county. We have about $100,000 and a fund. About 30 of it's been actually loaned out to support the housing study, which we're going to be talking about. And so that's already working for us. That was freed up the red tape. It's a very effective program. Countywide high-speed internet, we're going to be talking about that. Believe me, this is the biggest check on here, and it's been a very effective program, and that's very important for South Haven as well. We've established a county land bank that gives economic developers another tool, the city another tool, in our tool belt when we go to compete with other communities. We've done that as well. Our strategic priorities, we sat down with our board 2 years ago. We did a survey of community leaders. Board's got it, council's got it, everyone got this survey, and what we did was we worked with a national consultant on economic development, and we boiled it down to 4 basic areas we want to make an impact in. We want to execute a robust business development program. That means our existing companies make sure they have what they need to be successful, but then we want to attract new businesses in to replace the ones that have left over the years. So we have more primary employers, more taxes, more revenue. Organizational sustainability and resiliency. I was a lifeguard, and I remember being told that if you don't take care of yourself first, it's hard to help other people. So as an organization, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to make sure we are in a good place so that we can come out and help the city, townships, and other organizations. We need new site development. This is something we're going to continue to work on, is more industrial sites and more residential sites. That makes sense. We're not going to put them out in the middle of a cornfield and Columbia Township, there's no water, no sewer, nothing related to it, no interstates. But we will be doing this, and especially residential. We know there's a shortage of housing. We're about to find out, actually, in a couple weeks when we get the results, but we're going to have a solid numbers how short we are. And community advocacy education alignment. Recently, I was invited to go up to Lansing to testify on the need for the current SOAR bill to make sure that money is coming back to rural communities. It's not getting left behind. The big cities, as I know, were really fighting hard to make sure a lot of that money went out east. They're talking a lot about transportation, you know, these high-speed buses and things. Great for them. We don't have quite the same need. What we need to make sure is that we're taking care of what we got and rebuilding it. So that's part of what we also do. So one of the questions I get is quite often I get from municipalities, and we have 52 units of government. It's like, what are you doing specifically for me? And I always like to ask, if we can we raise our eyes up a little bit higher, a little bit more of a global view? Because what's good for South Haven is good for Lawton, and what's good for Lawton is good for Decatur. And I say that because when we do things that benefit one community, what we're doing is you got people who work in your companies here that work and live all across the county. And when we take care of parts of the county, we're raising the ability for talent to move in here, move closer to your companies. Likewise, there's people who live in the city who travel outside the city for employment. So the idea that we would break it down and look at it just very myopically at one unit of government over another, that's not an effective way to run economic development. So I talk about it from a much more global perspective. An impact is what I look at. Nothing's more impactful than the Robin Grant program. We're going to have over 15,000 unserved parcels now able to be served with fiber optic internet. $56 million project. Our team, years ago, we held one of our summits we dedicated strictly, it was actually in 2020 before the pandemic actually, we held it and talked mostly about high-speed internet and how can we get there to solving that issue. And truly, I thought this was a pipe dream because it took a lot of money, $56 million. But when the state issued the money, and we had Midwest Energy step up, Midwest Energy Communications stepped up, and they put 15 of their own money in. County put in 4, municipalities put in another $1 million. We were able to get to a number where we were able to be competitive with all the other regions, and we had a successful program. So this one right here is going to be one of the most impactful things that we have ever done as a community, because no longer are we going to have young people leaving our community. By the way, we need them. Leaving because they don't have fiber optic. No more are we going to have people turning houses away, not moving here because they don't have it. We've solved the big issue related to our population issues and the future population and retention. We're doing you probably know this, housing's a big issue. Market One applied for money through the Office of Rural Development to do a housing study. And I'm here to pat myself on the back because that's what you want to know what I've been doing. So here's what I'm going to tell you what I've been doing. Part of what I did was I met with the director, Sarah Lucas, of this department. When I was in Mackinac, I met with her, told her what we're doing, what we wanted to do. I also told her that some of the programs are not well aligned. Sometimes Cass County would qualify as rural, sometimes Van Buren would, but never at the same time would they because they had different terms. They fixed it. We qualified for the program now, and we got $100,000 between the county and this office to do a housing study to start working on this particular issue. So we're actually going to have actual legitimate data that's going to be able to tell developers what the need is for housing. So as we're looking at how do we solve housing, we're going to have some information we can take to developers and plug that. Probably heard Palisades. We've been actively involved with this. And the reason I'm actively involved with this is, of course, $300 million regional economic impact. You know, that's roughly what it's going to be. We also know the $10 million in tax revenue, 600 jobs, $75 million in payroll. We know all the numbers. But it's the power that's mostly what I'm interested in right now. We're taking off gigawatts from our coal factories. I think the number I heard the other night from at the NRC meeting was about 6 gigawatts of power coming off. That's a lot. That's a lot of power. And if we're going to if we don't want rolling brownouts, we need to get this back online. And then we need what's going to come after that, the small modular reactors. So this is the start of a lot of good things. But our organization, as the economic development organization for this county, has been out front. Right here on the left was a op-ed I wrote that got picked up by a lot of newspapers last year when the legislature was picking up and wondering, what should we do? Should we fund this program? Well, they funded it, and we've been out front on this, and I think it's a good move. This is good for the community. One other thing we did, and this impacts 3 of your businesses here, and I have Tom Feeney with Harbor Light. He's actually a part of this organization. He's been a part of it for almost 7 years. He's going to talk a little bit about the Brew Belt Beltway that we run.
Hi, Tom Feeney here. Thank you very much for giving us the time to do this. Harbor Light Brewery has been involved with the Brew Belt Byway for almost 7 years now. And what this is a consortium of these small businesses. We are secondary businesses that are craft beverage manufacturers. We're all manufacturers. So 3 of those are Harbor Light Brewing, Three Blondes, and South Haven Brew Pub here in town. Great Mead Hall is in Bangor, not too far away. So there's 4 of the 8 here locally. We meet on a fairly regular basis, almost monthly. And then we also collaborate with activities that are going on, creating events and being a part of those events, and also in support of each other. With those events, we also seem to draw a younger crowd, a younger demographic, generally 26 to 42, that are part of this craft beverage scene, as you will. What this does is it encourages younger families to come into the area when we have our events and activities and allow them to enjoy and experience the area. Yes, that helps us directly, but it also helps the community indirectly because we end up with a lot of individuals partaking in an activity in our particular area. In addition to that, we, Harbor Light Brewery, have an activity that we host and co-host at the end of September called Oktoberfest South Haven. This is one of the activities that we are spawning. Starts out with a 5.5K run, but we are growing that, and it will include the Brew Belt Byway beverage makers as well to help expand that and make it a more of not just a few hour event on Saturday, but make it an entire weekend event. So it's with this and with the help of Market One and their organization in order to allow us to meet on a monthly basis and create these events for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
We just recently, as part of this effort, I started it up 7 years ago because I got around and met with a bunch of them when I was early in the job. Might have been social, might have been for fun, but it was all work at the same time. And I recognized a lot of them didn't know each other and didn't realize they had a lot of things in common with each other, similar needs. I mean, now a lot of them will talk about, someone have extra hops, or I have too much of this, or everyone want to go on a glass order together. And so we put this together for that purpose, to try to get some economies of scale for them, but also to get some what we call, I guess we call it the shoulder seasons, right? When it's a little bit less busy, let's get something together and get them organized. So that was part of that effort, too. Just quickly, some numbers here. Since 2016, organizations helped create 767 jobs, helped retain 1,103, ushered in $275 million of new capital investment, and it's an economic impact of almost $342 million. And this is something fairly new we did through the county, that they funded us at a higher level to go after and get more money that was coming down from Washington. And I think we've been pretty successful. Almost $32 million of grant dollars that we've brought into Cass and Van Buren since 21. So I think that's been pretty effective as well in our efforts. So when I talk about, our impact, some of the things we've been able to do. We do this annual event. I think Mayor Brown was there. And what we like to do here is get all the stakeholders together in one room so they know each other. And, we have business leaders, community leaders, and they never realize there's a lot of work going on in the community that's beyond just one community or one business. There's a lot of things going on that we touch. And here's a lot of the awards we did. We handed out, actually, one in the bottom left was Kitchen Tribes. They were nominated, and the committee that we had formed to evaluate it thought they were fitting for the award, so they received it. And we're honored. And this is our new brand, as you see. So I said a lot here, but I'll take questions now, if you have any.
Any questions? I was wondering, how many grants have you secured for South Haven this year?
This particular year, well, if you count, we didn't write one together, if that's the case. We didn't actually sit down and write one together. I'd have to go back to numbers for all of Van Buren, what we did as an organization. You know, I'd have to look back at that. But we brought in $2.5 million in the RAP program. Tell you a little bit about that. The RAP program, the communities that did right for something and got awarded were told that unless they went in with Market One, that they weren't going to be funded individually. They were only funding regional applications, and that's what we submitted. So this gives you an opportunity when the MEDC doesn't want to deal with, 5 or 6 different communities in one area, they want to do one application. Having an organization like ours in place helps when we do applications together for that.
And how did that money, where is that money for South Haven?
South Haven didn't apply, didn't have any projects for this particular program.
So are you applying for other grants that are out there that can benefit us?
So the grant world, in the grant world, you have to have people who are willing to apply. We don't apply on behalf of people without them wanting to do the work. We don't do the work. We're not developers in terms of building houses. We don't build industrial facilities. What we do, it's going back to the one slide, we connect up the resources. We help maximize your applications, make sure you're getting the most points. We do some consulting with you. We make connections in Lansing. We use our resources to make sure you are the most successful for your application when it gets submitted. But we're not the ones building houses, doing streetscapes, building apartment complexes, building housing. That's all the projects we did. Building parks. Those are projects that got funded. We don't do those. But what we do is we help, as an extension of your team, maximize your ability to get the most points and be successful in your applications.
How many jobs have you created for South Haven in the last year?
I'd have to go back. We did one with Spencer's. We did a project with Spencer's. I'd have to see what they put on their application. I'd say somewhere south of 15 jobs. I don't remember what they put on their IFT application.
You said that you would be visiting manufacturing and industrial centers with our city staff for this year. How many have you visited?
I would have to look back at the sheet that my team put together to see how many we actually conducted with or without city staff. We don't always go with city staff. Some of these visits we also conduct on our own.
Well, you probably remember where you've been this year in South Haven.
Yes, we visited Spencer's, Revere. I'd have to go back through the list. I don't have it right at my fingertips, all the companies we visited, but that's part of what we do is we conduct it. Sometimes it's when they call us. Sometimes we're doing proactive visits. Some of it's trying to schedule multiple calendars, and sometimes when we're scheduling multiple calendars, one of the 4 parties may cancel and might have to reschedule. Sometimes when trying to coordinate a lot of people, those are the hardest visits. But when we're just out visiting, sometimes what we do is we do it very specifically on a specific need on what they need. So if it's, well, we need introduction to the MEDC's international sales team or whatever, and that's what we would do. We'd step in and help them with trade programs and things like that.
You said that everybody in the area benefits when Lawton gets something.
Yeah.
But we're paying you $12,000 to help South Haven, not Lawton.
And Lawton also invests in our organization, Mayor. We have almost 60 investors across the. What I would say is that we have multiple investors. Our goal is not necessarily to, at $12,000, we can't be, of course, a dedicated resource for you. That doesn't pay for a head count. But what we are here is an extension of your team. When you're doing grant applications, we can certainly step in and help you. We can certainly, as the companies are here, you're giving us more resources to be effective. The model that we have here is not one where one person is going to be paying the whole load. What we're doing is the county brought seed money in as a public-private partnership. This model is not something we invented. You met with Cornerstone Alliance. You've met with Southwest Michigan First. You've met with Lakeshore Advantage. This is the same model they use. It's a public-private partnership where their municipalities invest in them, where their business invest in them, the counties invest in them. It's a multi-pronged approach so that not one person's paying the full weight. As you know, a full economic developer would be over a 6-figure proposition for an organization to have. So what you're doing is you're buying a piece. It's a fractional services. You're buying fractional services. We're not here every day, but we certainly are here as an extension of your team.
It says, in the business update, it says you made direct contact with 3 companies looking to site their business in Cass and Van Buren counties.
Yeah.
Were any of those for South Haven?
Well, to be perfectly honest, you don't have sites available for them. You don't have anything over 6 acres and in the business park. So that's the challenge, is that we don't have inventory. And like one veteran economic developer said, no properties, no projects. So unfortunately, the issue is that if you don't have properties available, I can't market something you don't have. And that's the biggest issue the city has. I mean, it's not that in terms of attraction work, is that you don't have a 100-acre site sitting within the city that you can market. So that's my biggest challenge, right? And working with you is we could find someone. We actually did a study. We took some of our own money out of strategic site readiness and actually looked for sites around South Haven. We did find one near M140, but it was only like 20 acres, and it wasn't perfect, So that's the biggest challenge we have right now, is that there's not a lot of great land available, and some of the land that is available is tied up with people sitting on it. So that's the unfortunate part of it.
Here's the business site visits from your report, and I don't see South Haven. We didn't make the cut here on this page.
Well, those are highlights. That's the highlight reel, right? So we have from Lawton, Cassopolis, Edwardsburg, Pawpaw. We have them all over the place. But if you go back on our Facebook page, you'll find that we have visited South Haven throughout the year, too. These are just this is the highlight reel throughout the year.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions?
I just kind of following on the questions you've asked, I do appreciate all this information, and I think what we need as a council to know that if we were reinvesting this money,
Yeah.
that we were going to see some substantial benefits from it. And your point about it being a fractional ownership is a good one. But I just wonder if, as a council, is it better to invest those funds and others in an economic development director, or some such thing? A conversation for us.
Any other questions for Zach?
Just right now, when we're in interim, without having Griffin, I don't know if Kate, I don't know the status of filling that position, but I don't know if there's something Margaret Van Buren might be able to do to help us out in that aspect in the immediate future.
Absolutely. We can continue to help you I think there's some things that we've had some stumbling points and trying to work out a few things, and certainly that's been something Griffin and I and Kate and I will be working through. And sometimes when you're trying to work together and you're coordinating 4 or 5 calendars at once, sometimes it just isn't a smooth process. But we can do better. I've talked to Kate. We're committed to working through that and figuring that part out. But yeah, we stand here and we want to be a resource for the city, and we continue to be here ready for that. I go back to, I know we're looking at some transactional things like, did we make the visit? But these are some big deals, some things that we've worked on, being able to secure for the whole county. And I know we're looking at South Haven today, but I just want you to look at this a little bit more globally, in that it's not just about what happens in Bangor, one place. It's about what's taking place within the region. Economic growth doesn't happen in one place. It has to happen in multiple locations. These are just best practices, and these are things that if you talk to any economic development organization that visits, I know they're going to say the same thing. They're not looking at it as one location. They're looking at it as more of a regional, global perspective.
Mark, Zach is a resource if we need him, and right now we're just kind of in that first day since Griffin's been gone. So we've got some things that we have in the hopper. So I'm not too worried about them right now. And I would say that Zach's team has been very helpful with a number of the expansions that we've seen in the business parks. We also know that there's obviously with economic development, there's a lot of different prongs that are going on. A lot of it is also bringing your community up to a different level. The Wi-Fi and the broadband expansion in the county is incredibly valuable. I mean, we've got some areas still that that I think are being addressed, but did not have that kind of connectivity. And as we know, with many of our site visits, a lot of the folks who work in South Haven actually live out in the county and are driving in. So these are incredibly beneficial to make sure that we're all increasingly connected. I would also say that Market One rather, and the county is working on a target market analysis, which I think is going to be unveiled here in the next couple weeks here.
Absolutely.
I know that we have a couple scheduled site visits with Mayor Brown, myself, and the team. But there's things that are coming down the pike, and there's some things that are moving. So, and I think that Zach has been very clear about his motivation to make sure that we're getting our needs addressed here.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the one-year agreement with Market One, formerly Market Van Buren, for supplementary economic development services.
Second.
Any more discussion or questions?
I just have a
Yeah,
comment.
go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a comment. Mary kind of touched on it. My fear is minus assistant manager and not knowing how soon we'll get one on board. And such a big part of the assistant manager's job was economic development. I don't want to lose an existing resource, and it's just a one-year deal. So if, hope, Zach, next year when you come, if you could have a little more information for South Haven specific, because I do agree with you, you're right, if the region improves, we'll improve, but we would like to be able to tell the voters where their money's going. So if you have a little more specifics for us next year.
We can get more granular next year.
Yeah, so I just, because it's a one-year deal, and like I say, minus an assistant city manager, I'd like to stay the course with Market One.
Okay. Let's have a roll call.
Sorry, Kate. Sorry. Arnold?
Yes.
Hasley?
Yes.
Onuki?
Yes.
Sleeper?
Yes.
Brown?
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you for your presence
welcome.
and report. Next, the City Council will be asked to consider approval of a one-year agreement with the South Haven Region Business Hub to provide entrepreneurial support services in the amount of $8,000 for fiscal year 2024-2025. Kate?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a new agreement for us this year. This is the South Haven Regional Business Hub came to our pre-priority setting and talked about what they do to help support entrepreneurs in this area, which is a niche. I wouldn't say niche, but it's a group of folks in the business community that we're needing additional services. And they have put together this idea, this proposal, and we've worked out this agreement here to fund them for $8,000 for this year out of our fiscal year budget. It has already been budgeted into this year's fiscal budget. And Debbie Howe is here. If you have any questions for her, I know that she's got some things cooking with the Regional Business Hub. Maybe she can give us a brief update on that.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me again. Last time I was here, I couldn't see. So now I have some glasses so I can see a little bit. So thank you for having me. Last time you saw our annual report, we did implement our Grow Series program, which we started. We're on Series 4 of that Grow Series. We have 4 people that began the program back in, I think we started January, February, March, April, May. We started in May. So we are not an economic development organization. We are part of economic development, and every economic development organization should have a piece of an entrepreneurial hub. Our target audiences are usually those who are thinking about starting a company, and those who want to start a company, and those usually under 10 employees who are looking to grow, who kind of are at that, I'm thinking about growing a company, but not sure how to grow. So are in that early growth stage. They're normally what we would call your neighborhood companies, who are, if you look at statistics and organizations within that range, they're, those who want to create some kind of generational wealth, who have started mom and pop company, your local laundromats, let me see, grocery stores, anybody you would see on your neighborhood streets, those types of things. Those are the people we support with guidance on anything from a financial support or anything along those lines. So we have 32 what we would call subject matter experts in the area who generally give their time for free. We do have some that we do provide with a stipend to help support them in their journey along the path. So right now we support 47 different organizations. I want to say typically within the Van Buren region, but there's 32 of them here in just South Haven. So that's what we're looking to support. Normally within a nonprofit organization like this, the difficulty is reaching those those organizations and those individuals who want to start a company and finding them and telling them we're here. So the $8,000 we're looking for support is just to let the people know we're here, and our services are free. So we're trying to reach them with these dollars to say, hey, we're here. We can support you in your endeavors and your journey. There's a lot of spam out there right now. So if somebody wants to start an LLC, somebody will go to them and say, hey, I'll do that for you for $300. We can do it for $50. That's all it is, right? You just go to Laura, it's $50. But so many people go online and they get it and they go, well, I didn't know any better, right? So we can help them do that for free. It's $50 to do that. But they need to know we're here, right? They need to know we're here. We also don't want them to help to start their organization without thinking through financially, what does that mean, right? Most people think, I'm going to start a company and I'm going to work less hours and make more money. Whoa. Tell you what, it doesn't work that way. And we want to make sure they're financially aware of what they're getting into before they start the company. I see so many companies start and then fail. And if we could help stop that, that's what we want to help do, right? And help guide them along that journey. We don't want to help them not get to their dream, but maybe help them make that dream more successful, right? Or they're now at the five employee range. Man, I can get to 10 employees, but how do I get there? Well, one of our biggest success stories, most of you probably know, Siren Rose down here. She now has, she can go up to 9 employees. I think she has 5 now. But she had this little store where she could only hire 3. We helped her. She needed to build a business plan, right, to get to a new facility. We helped. She goes, Debbie, I have no idea how to build a business plan, right? So we helped her build that business plan. We helped her run through those financial numbers, making sure she could do that, right? Because we didn't want her to not be in a building that she couldn't even begin to afford either, right? So we helped her build that business plan, make sure she felt comfortable in buying that building, go to the bank, found her the financial support she needed with that bank, whether that financial institution. She now has the ability to hire 9 new people who are going to come here and move here to South Haven, right? She now has 5. One of our first people that came through our startup series, this is one of my favorite stories. I have several. So he came here as a migrant worker, and he didn't want to live that way. He got his HVAC license. He came through our startup series program, and he got his HVAC license. He came through our startup series. He started his own business. He now has 11 employees. And they're all from the Hispanic background, right? He is doing fantastic. And he lives here in South Haven. So those are the kind of people we help support, but we need to get the word out that we help them, right? We help them create their business. We're there for their journey along the way. Another one, I think you heard me, and if any of you have been to one of our programs, I talk about him all the time. He's a minister here in town. Through COVID, he started what's called BP Bags and Boards. He allows me to tell his story because he's okay. He goes, I taught Debbie about, do you guys know about cornhole bags and boards? I have no idea what they are. So he says, I taught Debbie about cornhole bags and boards, and she taught me about cost of goods sold. Okay. He goes, during COVID, to support his young family, he started making cornhole bags and boards. And somebody says, you really need to find out how to get this to be a legitimate business and to make sure you're making money at it. So they told him to call me. And he did. And he was losing money making those BP boards, bags and boards. He's now been approved by the Cornhole Bag Association. He's making money, right? And he's soon to be selling to the Yogi Bear campgrounds, 365 of them, right? And guess where he's going to manufacture those little BP bags and boards? Right here in South Haven, right? Now, he is a minister, so he will be a minister and he will be assigning somebody else to run the company, but those are the kind of people we help support. So we're an entrepreneurial hub. We help support young individuals, not just young at heart, but young entrepreneurs. They could be in their mid-40s, they could be in their 50s, they could be along a journey of wanting to start their own generational wealth. They're not huge corporations, but they're in their early start. So we're asking for the money to help reach those people who are considering that or in their early growth.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions? Wendy?
I feel like I should know this, but do you have a bricks and mortar office space? And
Is my house considered a brick and mortar? Actually, I'm going to take that back because we do, Lake Michigan College is generously giving us a space, yes. So when we do our workshops, we operate out of Lake Michigan College.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good question.
Any other questions? Mary?
Not a question, but accolades. I've met Debbie before and talked with her on her efforts and just everyone involved. And I think it's just a really, it is such a great part of our community. I mean, it just reinforces, the philanthropy of our community and the fact that their local leadership are volunteers. The majority of them are not paid to help these new businesses grow. And not only are they not paid, but I know that some of them, like Debbie, pay out of her own pocket to get advertising out and things like that to help new budding entrepreneurs. So thank you.
Our Grow series, they're matched up with a mentor, and these are one-on-one mentorships to make sure that the organizations are successful as they want them to be, and they meet with them weekly to help support them along the way. So, yeah, and we're very grateful for this community to be able to do that, for sure. But we got to get the word out. That's what the money will help support.
Great. Is there a motion?
I would move to, going back, move to support the approval of a one-year agreement with the South Haven Regional Business Hub to provide entrepreneurial support services in the amount of $8,000 for fiscal year 24-25.
Second.
All in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, it's time for public comment. Citizens in the audience will be heard on items not on the agenda, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Samuel Braun, and I am with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I represent the City of South Haven's DPW and also their electric employees as well. Myself, I am 3.5 hours from the city of South Haven in Bay City, Michigan. This is my second time in the city as I'm new to this position. And the first thing I wanted to say is how beautiful the city is. It's probably one of the nicest cities in the state. I think everybody in this room, myself included, knows exactly what it takes to make a city stay as beautiful as South Haven is. And it takes dedication from the employees, from the citizens, and from council members like yourself. Although these members of your public works and electrical departments are dedicated to serving this city day and night, and sometimes in the worst weather conditions possible, we feel like the city councils, the city managers, and the human resource representatives have turned their backs on the workers of this city. It takes a special person to leave their families at all hours of the night to go out and restore power in some of these bad weather conditions. And while most people are sleeping in their beds, relaxing on the city beaches and out on the boats, these people are keeping the streets clean. They're keeping the power restored in the worst of conditions, ice storms, snowstorms, all sorts of things like that. They're keeping streets clean. They're keeping the water sanitary. They're keeping the toilets flushing and the lights on. Meanwhile, the city management doesn't feel like these dedicated employees are deserving of a wage and benefits that reflect the hard work they put in. To maintain a city like this takes a lot of work, as you all know, and it takes a lot of revenue to make that happen. While city management and human resources are compensated fairly with regular raises, the ones who care for your beautiful city are without fair compensation. And so let me put this in perspective for you guys. Journeyman lineman in this city makes 20% less than the average journeyman lineman working for the average municipality in the state of Michigan. One thing I want to point out to you guys is we represent 47 different municipalities within the state of Michigan. We have 47 different contracts. And through my travels to these and negotiating and going over city budgets, things like that, the majority of our municipalities, their budgets and their revenue streams are exponentially lower than the city of South Haven's. Yet the city of South Haven, our members, your employees, they're over 20% behind in compensation compared to just the average. These men and women, they spend their lives maintaining the city, but they can't afford to live in the city limits due to the high cost of living and the low wages that are provided. These workers are performing a variety of different jobs within their classifications, and that's something that's going to help to keep the city costs low. Hiring outside contractors, as you guys know, for trimming trees, doing major power upgrades and maintenance, those are exponentially high costs. But with more of these duties to keep your overhead costs low, there needs to be a better compensation for the city. If there was to be a lack of qualified workers, there would be these costs up front. In the coming months, electrical line construction will be picking up in a large amount of workload in the southwest region of the state of Michigan. And there will be a high demand for qualified journeyman linemen, equipment operators, groundmen, and they'll all be needed to fill all of these roles as these times goes on. And everybody in this city is qualified to fill all of these roles I'm mentioning. And it's important to note that if any worker was to leave the city, replacing them with somebody that was equally qualified is going to be extremely difficult to almost nearly impossible.
You have 1 minute.
So we respectfully ask that you consider renegotiating our contract on wages midterm through our year of this contract negotiations. I think we have 2 more years on it, but we would like to request to open up for economics in the coming months. Is there any questions?
Oh, this is not a time for back and forth.
Okay, understood. Thank you, guys.
I'm Elaine Herbert, 404 North Shore Drive. In the zoning redo, home occupation in residential districts is now poised to become as devastating a threat to residential life as short-term rentals has been. Home occupation is set to be, by right, no longer requiring a planning commission special use. The zoning redo is poised to add more commercial businesses to what few residential homes still exist, with customers and retail sales, and now even in garages and ADUs, and adding more strained street parking in our neighborhoods. Why do residents have trust issues with the zoning redo and those creating it? Because these changes to zoning are life-altering, and staff is hiding these changes from view by not redlining or even representing changes honestly, even when asked. Few residents have been involved in the redo process, and many have requested to be included and were turned away. Changes made to home occupation in residential districts were not revealed in the April Planning Commission workshop comparison one-to-one graph. At last week's Planning Commission workshop, home occupation was also not revealed as a changed item in the updated presentation. At Planning Commission last week, when Councilwoman Hosley asks about home occupation, she was told there were no concerning changes except that a special use from Planning Commission would no longer be required. The consultant waved off concerns, saying there was probably already many home occupations operating in town. No worries. He offers confidence that enforcement would surely shut down retail sales like a t-shirt shop. Everyone in town is already aware of local bakeries operating in neighborhoods, pop-up tent stores on front lawns, websites online, and promotion of home occupations on Mayor Brown's social media pages. Are you aware of what Flower Group can do in the sewer? There is currently zero staff enforcement as it is. Is this a foothold to legalizing AD use in neighborhoods for everything? The consultant replies, there will be no retail sales, a completely untrue statement to the Planning Commission. The proposed ordinance redo absolutely allows retail sales by right of whatever the home occupation is producing. This untruth, purposeful or uninformed, either one is unsettling. The consultant never mentioned these new changes throughout this long process. I repeat for emphasis, home occupation will now be permitted customers and a retail store, now operating from a property's ADU. I sent you clips of the current ordinance compared to the proposed, and I will summarize. The current ordinance, by right, has live-work home occupation, which we know as work office from Zoom. There's no need to change this. Here, by comparison, the existing ordinance allowed by right, no customers, no clients, no parking, no signage, no shipping, no storage of materials, no garage, no driveway, no visible sign of business outside the home. Special use, 10% of the home maximum, and a 2-foot sign affixed to the home. Proposed redo, allowed by right, no special use required. Yes, customers, yes, parking, yes, signage, yes, retail sales of goods made in the home. Yes, the ADU, the garage, the shed, the driveway, allowable. Yes, visible signs of business outside the home. Yes, 25% of the home allowed for the business. Residents strongly object to the redo of the home occupation zoning. Home occupation should be defined only as live-work, unchanged. Enforcement should immediately begin enforcing and ending illegal bakeries and other commercial retail home occupations in our neighborhoods. Stop working to legalize them by right. Let Planning Commission grant special use where considered appropriately as currently done. Read the results of the resident survey for the master plan in the Planning Commission workshop for July 11th. Overwhelmingly, residents want STRs reduced and peaceful residential life restored. Shame on this proposed change to home occupation, and shame on staff for proposing it and hiding it. What in the world? What in the world? Who asked for this? And why is it in the redo? And why has nobody noticed it until now? Thank you. And please turn this down.
Walt Placotti, 559 Monroe Boulevard. Good evening. Been a while since I've been up here. I don't feel quite as comfortable as I always do. Okay, Today, 3 STR annual registrations were issued for the 3 dwelling units on 406, 410, and 412 North Shore Drive. On Friday, they were reported to host compliance for operating without valid permits since July 10th. The permits issued today were backdated to July 10th. The registrations for 406 North Shore Drive are for a property without a driveway access to parking, a driveway required by ordinance and supported by ZBA in a ruling from December of 2022. The second dwelling unit at 410 North Shore Drive is considered under the R1A single-family district to be an ADU and cannot be a BSTR. Staff has blocked ZBA appeals for 3 years now. Staff now wants us to believe that possibly 100 zoning compliant BSTRs should be grandparented in a new ordinance. Residents oppose this. There is no path to ZBA appeal with this staff. Even if we were able and willing to pay the $2,600 necessary, they block for their own reasons. We asked City Council to refuse to grandparent all BSTRs registered since January of 2019. Section 27, vested rights of the South Haven zoning ordinance, is the way. Restore neighborhoods. It's what residents want, and you can do it. I want to say one more real quick thing. I apologize. Lastly, a permanent sign is easily recognizable as opposed to a temporary sign. Staff can't be this dense, just being stubborn or contrary or controlled by STR owners. Take down the commercial permanent signs in our neighborhoods. Residents have been shut out of the STR ordinance remake and recodification, but the survey speaks. Get STRs out of our residential neighborhoods, and let's move forward. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Lisa Croupiers, 561 Indiana Avenue. The recodification and new STR ordinance intend to certify the obvious, that STRs are a commercial use. The South Haven ordinance has forever intended and valued residential neighborhoods to be free of uses that are incompatible with residential living. Commercial uses belong in commercial districts. STRs belong in commercial districts. SHZO Section 27 vested rights assures us that no vested rights are to be assumed for any uses. Recodification intends to delete Section 27, and residents demand to know why. Section 27 gives residents the right to control our city as we wish. Let it stand and stay, and let it now solve our STR problem. Planning and City Council have the right and the will of the majority of residents to delete short-term rentals and SHZO sections 1743 and 1744 from all residential districts in the recodification. Please do this. STRs since January 1st of 2019 have no grandparented vested rights. Do not grant them. Restore our residential neighborhoods. The new ordinance provision for grandparenting existing STRs is fully unacceptable. We accept no amnesty for non-compliant STRs, no burying of 8 years of staff mistakes, zero enforcement and cover-ups. No rush to an ordinance created by staff and lawyers. Residents reject and do not support this. I also want to talk about a second topic. I want to talk about Overton 2.0, the hopefully development that will be coming in there soon. And please correct me if I don't say this right, Kate. When We recently, a small group of us met with city staff, Kate Hosier and Griffin recently, and Mr. Hettinger. And Kate indicated that local employers reach out to the city and are begging for apartments, housing for new employees. New employees that may get paid $70,000 in salary. And we also know that we do not have living housing for our teachers, our medical workers, our firefighters, and policemen, which may make less than that. The thing that we are looking for Overton is apartments that they can come in. What happens is when the employers, when people take these jobs, they can't find an apartment here, so they go to St. Joseph or they go to Holland. And as soon as they are in those locations, they start building a life and they start connecting in that community. And we need to start snagging those people and getting them in living situations here. And before Griffin departed, he did say Overton is not going to be the answer to everything. But if we can just start that with an apartment situation where people can come in, secure a job, and have a place that they can look to live. So I'm hoping that this is something that we will be moving forward on and pursuing at our earliest available convenience. Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, moving on to city manager's comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have a few comments about last week. Last week was a pretty busy week, coming back after vacation. I'm sorry, not vacation, but rather the holiday weekend. We had a lot going on. A lot of those items have been posted to the city's website. We had a presentation with Soul America at a community open house at South Haven Township. Those presentation slides have been put up on the city's website. Additionally, city staff and George Sleeper and Ross Stein attended an NRC presentation to determine a working scope of their environmental review. I did have a handout from that meeting, or from that public meeting, and that has been also shared with the city council via the city manager's blog. We have shared the 3-hour parking map because we know some of those changes are really helpful for the workers downtown, so that's been shared. And I did also want to share that we've had a number of just questions about the parking, and so we've been working our way through that. Some of our signs did not get taken down in a timely manner, so we're working our way through a couple ticketed complaints that we'd received. So we're working our way through that. I did want to say I really thanked the city council for coming in and giving us 2 hours of your time and working through the item that we had in our closed session. So I thank you for your time, your thoughtfulness. Hopefully we gave some good direction there. Lastly, I will be out of the office July 19th to the 29th. We'll be back in the office Monday the 29th. While I am gone, Kim Wise will be your point of contact. Hopefully we can keep things a little light. We've got some things cooking, as you can tell, but Kim will be your point of contact while I'm out. Those are my comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
George?
No comments.
Harry?
Yes. Kate, can you tell us, so I think everybody appreciates that the moratorium for the lottery is coming to an end. I believe the last day is August 19th. Will you be planning to bring that extension back to us by the 1st?
First meeting in August, yes.
And oh, that's right. So at the July 1st meeting, we had the licensing agreement for Captain Lou's. And I saw they have a variance in front of the ZBA. Will that, if that's granted and that goes forward, will that affect the license that we granted for the seawall?
I don't believe so, but I can double check.
And just a couple quick updates for Planning Commission. So on August 1st, we're tentatively having a workshop, and our workshops have been starting at 5. with Ryan Kilpatrick to discuss different housing types. And on this past Thursday, the Planning Commission approved a new property for 3 dwelling units above the Locker property at Phoenix Center and Eagle, so that's exciting. And you've heard some discussion of the recodification. We're still working through things. Right now, we've spent a fair amount of time recently on lot coverage, trying to make it easier to measure from the walls, and we're just trying to adjust it to make sure that homes that are built are commensurate with what they are now under the current zoning ordinance. And there was a comment, Aaron Cobbs had approached the Planning Commission about having an exception for his business short-term rental, and I just wanted to explain that I believe Councilman Reeser and Aaron Cobbs met with the city manager, and also Aaron Cobbs met with Councilwoman Wilkins. And at this point in time with the moratorium, I'm not sure that there's really much that the city can do for an exception. And if I'm incorrect, Kate, if you could clarify that. But I think there's just a lot of discussion about trying to help residents at this point in time during the moratorium. And I just caution that we need to be able to finalize the work that we're undertaking, and I can guarantee you we're all working very hard at that. And I know not just Mr. Cobbs, but I know of other residents who had hoped to get a business short-term rental through the lottery, and were not able to do that. And so I would not want to start a precedent of giving exceptions, and just let us work things out so that everybody's due process is protected. And just thank you everyone for coming out. And again, August 1st, Planning Commission workshop with Ryan Kilpatrick on housing types. And thank you very much.
Wendy?
I was just gonna ask Kate, although they kind of snuck out, but just the journeyman, lineman.
I'm not going to comment on personnel issues. I can say that we negotiated a very fair contract that just came to the city council. So I'm a little disappointed and a little surprised, but we have a very fair contract that was agreed to by both sides and that was approved by this board.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Anything else, Wendy?
Oh, no, that's all.
Jeff?
No comment.
I just want to once again thank all of our city employees who put in overtime and long hours over the 4th of July holiday. And we are just a great city during the 4th of July, and it's great to be here, and it's so much fun. And that is because we have so many hard-working, committed employees working behind the scenes and working after everybody goes home and we go to bed. So once again, thank you to our staff. If there's no further business, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.